The Coach Kevin McMillan Show is brought to you by BSN Sports.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Coach Kevin McMillan Show. I'm Chris Brinkley. Coach, a fantastic showing at the NCAA basketball tournament in North Carolina. And I guess for all of this to make sense, if we can take a logical narrative and go through the game chronologically, it might make sense to those who saw the game and did not see the game. First of all, you drew North Carolina in the NCAA basketball tournament. When you drew them, you knew they were a young team. You also knew they were potentially one of the most athletic and talented team in the whole tournament.
Well, yeah, we knew that from the start, and that when they play well, they're a 1 or a 2 seed, and when they don't play well, they're 7 or 8 seed probably. Most talented team is what everybody else had told us: size, athleticism, strength, everything. And it was not a good matchup for us going in, but we just tried to do things to help that matchup make sense to us and give us a chance. But it was not a great matchup, especially being on their home floor.
How athletic are they? Two of the parents played professionally. McDaniel's girls' dad's Xavier McDaniel, who played for the Sonics and the Knicks, and then DeShields' dad's Delino DeShields, who played Major League Baseball, so a very athletic team. Now, going into this, you decided to flip the script, and even though you had similar styles, you were going to change your style. How did that idea come to fruition?
Well, probably it was a 25-year come to fruition idea. It's coaching in high school and figuring out how to win basketball games when you're outmatched. It probably came from our first year here, where we were outmatched every single game and played a certain way and kind of dictate the tempo. It comes from the last 3 years being in the NCAA tournament and seeing the results from that. It comes from the schedule that we put together. And I talked to Jasmine and Heather a couple of days ago and said, guys, y'all have got every reason to be real upset with me, because we could have been doing this since your first year. And had we done that in those games, we would have won some of these games. But when you've got little guards, the way to keep them at their best is you want the floor open. Well, the way to keep the floor open is to play faster so that the floor is more open. So we were always under the impression that our 2 guards would play better if we kept the floor open for them. Well, Florida State kind of kicked into us that we needed to do something differently, and I walked in the locker room after the Florida State game, and I told the girls, we just got beat 20 or 18 or whatever, and I said, guys, I'm just going to tell you this right now: get us back to the NCAA tournament, we're going to win a game. And I said, it's the same thing in Illinois. We found what was going to help us have a great season in Illinois in a loss. And at the Florida State loss, we found what to do against top 25 teams to give ourselves a chance to win the NCAA tournament. And I told them that. I said, we could have done this better, I said, but bottom line is get us back, and we're going to win. And we didn't win. But purposely you saw what we were trying to talk to about with the kids.
I think it's phenomenal that most of the time as a coach you want to magnify your strengths and hide your weaknesses, but your team shows the versatility to do a lot of different things. Because you took your strength and you found another strength in this style of play.
Well, if you really get down to it, we really didn't change much. A lot of people, ESPN, really made a big deal about us changing our style and whatever. Well, if you really break it down, we scored 85 points a game, or 84, whatever. And the way we played was we wanted our 2 guards, Butler and Newsom, to control the basketball game. And the way we controlled the game was we pressed and we pushed it and we did stuff. Well, we didn't really do anything different in the North Carolina game. We wanted those 2 guards to control the basketball game. The thing that what we did different was we just said we're going to keep it in their hands longer. But we still want the same concept was going on. We're going to control it, and we're going to control it with our 2 guards. And that's why I told them they ought to be real mad at me, because they could have been doing that forever. It was a change, granted, because we didn't push it, we didn't press, but we didn't run any set differently than we'd run all year. We just ran them at different times, and we made them chase Butler and Newsom around before we did it. Well, they're controlling the basketball game, but it is a radical enough change. Well, you saw at Florida State, we tried to do it at Florida State, and our kids couldn't do it. I mean, it took them a half to figure it out, so it wasn't like it's simple, but it was really, really unbelievable to watch those kids have 3 days to practice and get a game plan down and go and do what they did.
What also impressed me is defensively, you switched it up in the first half as much as I've ever seen a team switch up defenses. You have to have a basketball team with a high IQ to be able to do that successfully.
Well, we played man, we played a 2-3 zone, we played a diamond in 1, and we played a triangle in 2.
And that was in the first 4 possessions.
That was in the first, that was the first 3 or 4 possessions. Yeah. And coming out of timeouts, we went and they were coming every time that they had to come the length of the floor. We would set up in a 2-3 zone, and then when they crossed half court, we'd switch to whatever we were going to do. I mean, we just went out there and stood like we were in a 2-3 zone, so they'd see it coming down the floor. Then we'd switch. I mean, it's not complicated. It's not anything major. I mean, but it made them have to slow down and think about what we were doing.
Right. I mean, I felt that, pardon the pun, they were on their heels or their Tar Heels a lot in that first
They
half.
were. They were both halves defense. I mean, they never really got comfortable with what we were doing defensively, which is a credit to our kids. I mean, we made very few mistakes on defense, and it was unbelievable that they carried out what we were asking them to do and did it so well.
At the half, you have the lead 35-22. It was a back-and-forth game in the early going. Butler was hot in the early going, too.
Butler shot the ball well early and kind of pushed us out a little bit. Asia was playing well. You know, Jasmine was handling the ball, the pressure fine. Katie was making shots when she was open. Elizabeth hit one. So, I mean, we were playing well in the first half. And truth of the matter is we carried that on into the second half.
Right.
We never really kind of let up. But it was a very, very, very solid first half, especially on the glass, because that's one of the things I was the most worried about.
Okay, right, on the glass, and that was impressive because you had even said in the pregame, I don't think that we can win the rebounding war, but we got to hang in there. Mm-hmm. I think you were leading.
We were leading at the half.
Yeah. The score at the half is 35-22. You come out to start the second half, and for those who saw the game, there were some weird things going. It was like we were in the twilight zone. First of all, there was an odd noise at Carmichael Arena that involved the scoreboard, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a scoreboard lowered during a game or during halftime of the game. So that delayed everything a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it now and say, in order for us to have lost that game, well, what if I told you this, Chris? We're going to go play a top 20 team in the country, a top 12 team in the country, on their home floor. And in order for you to get beat, here are the things that are going to happen. They're going to have to bring the horn on the scoreboard is going to have to break. They're going to have to lower it at halftime and fix it. They're going to have an intruder on campus that requires a lockdown. They're going to have to go to the monitor repeated times. They're going to have to announce something during a timeout that disrupts one of your timeouts. I mean, if you go through all the things that had to happen, it would have been like, 1 in a million that all those things would happen the way that they did. But they did. And it started with the scoreboard, and it just got crazier after that. But again, a tribute to our kids that we never backed down from what we were doing, no matter all of the distractions and everything else that was going on.
The scoreboard finally goes back up. You're still controlling the game, up by 18 at the 10:51 mark in the second half. And then one of the turning points certainly was when Asia Jones picked up her fourth foul.
She picked up 2 fairly quick fouls, and that has kind of gotten lost in everything that went on. That may have been the key, was that we pulled her out. And maybe we should have left her in and rolled the dice. Looking at it now, you think you should have, but you don't do that with 9 minutes and something to go. And you're in control of the game, and you feel pretty confident that Caldwell can come in there and give you some minutes. But that was huge because they were having a lot of trouble with it. Mm-hmm. They weren't. I mean, she was scoring on them. She was defending and rebounding well. But turning out that was a big change.
Caldwell comes in, probably one of the most controversial or questionable calls in the game, and I don't want to criticize the officiating, was a flagrant foul that was called on Caldwell on a free throw where DeShields goes to the free throw line. So not only do they hit a couple of free throws, she hits 2 free throws, they get the ball back and they scored, right? So.
Well, we were up 13 when they headed down the floor, and when we headed back down the floor, we were up 7. And I probably have been coaching for 25 years and don't remember many 6-point possessions.
Yeah.
I could probably count on no hands how many times I've seen a 6-point possession. And I mean, again, let's mark that into the category of what had to happen in order for you to get beat.
Right. You go back and watch the replay, you certainly can.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was to say it was a questionable call. I talked to one of the supervisors and officials after the game, after when we got back, and asked if she had seen it, and she said she had, and she said, Kevin, I didn't think they had a choice but to call it a flagrant foul. And I said, well, you have to say that. I mean, the director of officials is sure not going to say they made a mistake. And I said, well, I tell you what, with all due respect, we'll just leave our opinion. You know I'm going to call it not a flagrant foul.
Right.
I mean, I'm from Martin. We're going to call it not a flagrant foul. You know the head of officials is going to call it a flagrant foul. I mean, they don't have a choice. I said, well, we'll just leave it to the ESPN folks that got to watch it over and over. And none of them said it was a flagrant foul. And what hurt was that I had to watch a video before the tournament talking about what we were going to call and how we were going to call. And then I got on and we got on the bus. How ironic. The world, life is so strange. I got on the bus to leave the gym. And we're watching a game where a girl gets up in another girl. I mean, she's right up in her, and she pivots and turns, and she busts her lip. Okay? And we're talking about blood. They go to the monitor. They come back. Now, we're talking about an elbow to the face, in the mouth, blood everywhere, and they come back from the monitor, and there wasn't even a foul called.
Yeah.
Now, you got to remember, there was no foul called on this. We just went to the monitor. Why we went to the monitor, I don't know. And we come out with a flagrant foul. And, I just told him, I said, we'll let the ESPN analysts decide whether it was a good call or not, because I felt pretty confident.
And they certainly did. And, when you watch it in real time, it's different than when watching it in slow motion, I think. And in watching the replay, I definitely had an opinion. But we'll move on.
Well, the truth of the matter is, I'm not going to, if I believe that there's a flagrant foul from one of our kids, I'm gonna tell you that.
Right.
Well, I watched it, and I looked up there, and as soon as I saw it, I turned around and went and started coaching. Okay, guys, we're going to take it out. We're going to da-da-da. Because I've coached this way for 3 years with this flagrant rule. And flagrant, technically, it's called intentional. That's the old intentional fouls. And when I watched it, I was like, okay, she never looked at her. Her hands are not up like this. They're down like this. So there's no intent to foul there. So I turn around and we start coaching. I'm like, we're going to have the balls. There's no way. Boy, I was wrong.
We were all surprised. Coach, you move forward in the game. It's a back and forth. North Carolina jumps out to a 5-point lead with 2:03 remaining. But your team still fought. Jasmine hit a big three-pointer to tie it up late.
Well, the flagrant foul changed the game. And when the game changed, it went back to an athletic game. And as soon as it went back to an athletic game, we can't win that game. There's no way. If it gets real physical, and that's what we've tried to get away from this year with the new changes in the rules and the call and stuff and whatever. But it looked like it went back to. I felt like I was in last year. All of a sudden, down underneath got real physical. The game just changed, and when it changed, that caused us all kinds of problems. And it should have. It went back to the strongest is going to survive. But what you saw from our kids, which is absolutely amazing, we just kept going and kept going. Jasmine makes a big three, and then we end up with a chance to win the game at the end. And that's all you can ask for from your kids.
Let's talk about the ending. It was 60-58. North Carolina had a 2-point lead. We knew that there was a lockdown on campus with what we were told at the time, an armed gunman, a dangerous situation. And as you go into your final timeout in the final possession, 18 seconds left, is that right? 18 seconds left. In your timeout, an announcement was made, an emergency announcement that the school was on lockdown. So take us into what's happening in that timeout as that emergency announcement is made.
Well, that's a loaded question.
Okay, well.
Do you want me to go through what was happening at that time, or since then what we found out? I mean, because there's two different things. We'll leave him since then what we
Okay.
found out, and we'll talk about what was happening.
You're in a
at the
time. You're talking to your players.
We go in to get to the timeout, and over the intercom comes emergency management system announcement. Da 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 da. Well, at the OVC tournament last year, they cleared the building for a tornado
warning. Yeah.
We've done that here in the Elam Center. So whenever we hear, and we're Tennessee, we're from Tennessee. So when we heard emergency management, I assumed, okay, oh my gosh, we're going to have to clear the floor. What are we going to do? I've got kids and a wife that's in the building. What's going on? And so I got up and kind of turned to the official. Well, about that time, they finished their announcement and then retracted it.
Right.
And I couldn't. So I'm going, okay, what?
And at the time, you didn't know anything about a lockdown.
No, I had no idea.
An armed and dangerous
I thought we had a
person
tornado coming.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, fine. So I turned to go back into the huddle to try to go over the timeout, and the official comes over and says, no, you got to play right now. And I turned to him and initially was like, you're joking. Okay. And I turned to go back in. No, we're playing now. And he was adamant. And then I got ticked.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Because
to
you
tell
had
you.
not-
I got mad.
You had taken your time out, and instead of having a timeout, you were listening.
We're listening to
the
an emergency
announcement.
management announcement.
Trying
Because my thing is real simple. If it's important enough to put over the PA, then it's important enough that we need to be listening to
Right.
it. And if it's important enough that we need to be listening to it, then whatever we're doing doesn't matter. So we have a timeout right now? Well, that doesn't matter. So my common sense, and I know I'm not near as intelligent as some people, but my common sense would say when you finished all of that,
Then
start
you
your
get
timeout.
your timeout.
Right. Well, he was adamant that wasn't going to happen. Well, I didn't let it go. So this is how he handled it. Oh, okay, coach, go coach your team. Oh, okay, fine. So what do I think he's going to do now?
Give you time.
Give me the timeout. So I turn, go in to coach the team, kneel down, and the horn blows. And he's going out on the floor. Well, I got mad again because what you just did now was patronizing, and you're So then I was really mad, and have to take another timeout,
Which is your final timeout.
which was our final timeout. And so I have to take that next timeout, and never got the full timeout. Take the other timeout, have to go over what we're going to do. And ESPN called me and talked about it and asked, so did that distract your kids from doing what they needed to do? Well, I could have made it sound worse than it was. I could have said, yes, we were so distracted, we couldn't go out and do our jobs, and da-da-da-da. Well, it wasn't true. Our kids went out there and did exactly what I told them to, the way that they'd been doing it the whole game. They made no mistakes at the end. They did everything I told them to do. And they were focused in the huddle with the 30 seconds and all that other crazy stuff going on. So I wasn't about to overdo it. I'm going to tell you the truth.
And you were talking to Rebecca Lobo
And Carol Lawson. And they were hoping for, yes, it was distracting and it cost us, but it didn't. I mean, we had our time, we got our stuff done, we went back on the floor, and they did exactly what I told them to.
But here's why it cost you. Because that last timeout was a very important timeout.
Yes.
Explain it from a
because
coach's standpoint.
Here's what ended up happening. North Carolina, now we could still go into overtime. And I will go to my grave knowing if we wanted to be in overtime, we could have been in overtime. Because they weren't going to keep Jasmine from getting to the rim. They hadn't all night. She was going to get there, and she was going to have a chance to lay it up and get to overtime. But I made a conscious decision sitting right there. We're not playing for overtime. We're going to play. We've played this whole game to win it, and we're not going to start now trying to play for overtime. We're going to try to win. And so we go back out there, and as soon as we get out there, they don't know that. They're thinking DeShields is fouled out. If we get to overtime, this is going to be tough. Da, 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 da. So they've got their big kid planted right in the middle of the lane. And when I saw her and I've got in three-point shooters everywhere. And when she's right in the middle of the lane, I saw that. I cleared one person out, and I would have called another timeout. And I would have said, guys, this is what we're going to do. Jazz, you're going to penetrate, and then I want Charisma to come out of the corner and get up behind her. Everybody else is on the other side of the floor, so we're not worried about y'all. Charisma come up and get behind her, and Jazz turn around and throw it backwards to her. If you throw it backwards to her, the girl that Jasmine, who's guarding that one, can't get to her.
Right.
And she'll have a wide open look, and she shoots 40-something%. We've got a 40-something% chance of winning this game. But I didn't have a timeout.
He was out of timeout.
So all I could do, Jasmine looked at me, and I said, Tyson. And so she penetrated, and she kicked to Tyson, but the girl went straight to her and got a finger on it and deflected it, and we lose the ball game. So it ended up being a big deal, and they talked about it on ESPN. And the great thing about it is that all of the stuff that I have heard, I can't watch the game right now.
Yeah. I'm exhausted now just talking about it.
If I go back and watch it now, I'll probably make some statements I'm not supposed to make. See, because I'm not allowed to talk about the officials.
Right.
You can talk about how poor of a coach I am. I can talk about how poor of a coach I am. You can talk about how bad our players were. I can talk about it. But you can't say an official made any mistakes. Now, I guess they're perfect because we're not allowed to talk about any infallibility in an official. Why? I don't know. I mean, crap. We're all human. We're going to make mistakes. But that not having that timeout and not getting you on the same page, it turned out to be very, very, very huge. Would we have made the shot? I don't know.
Well,
I have no idea.
I don't know how many times I've seen you come out of a timeout, read the defense, and call another timeout, and then execute.
Yeah,
we
score out of timeouts at a very, very high rate because we've seen stuff and we'll adjust and we'll do some things. And so I felt good coming out of that timeout that we had a good plan. And then when I saw what North Carolina did, I went, oh, we're about to win this game. I mean, that's the last thing I expected to see from them. I mean, I really, when I saw that, I went, we're about to win this game. But I couldn't get Tyson to come up out of the corner because she didn't know. I mean, she went and did what I said to do because I never expected them to take the man that's guarding her and stick her over here. I never expected that. I mean, you're not going to do that. So I was going to leave her in the corner to keep the floor spread out so Jasmine could get to the rim.
Right.
And when I saw that, I said, that's a gift. I said, we're about to get a wide open shot to end this game. And but we couldn't articulate it, and that's the way it ended.
Okay.
So
we'll come back with our second part of the Coach Kevin McMillan Show in just a moment on the Kevin McMillan Show.
At this time, we would like to thank our basketball corporate donors. CARY Insurance, DYNAMIX, Parker Hannafin, State Farm, Surgical Associates of Martin, Vans Institutional Pharmacy, Walmart.
Back with Coach Kevin McMillan on the Coach Kevin McMillan Show. Coach, let's talk about the seniors. What do you think the future will be for Heather Butler and Megan White and Jasmine Newsom?
we don't want to talk about that.
Okay.
Jasmine and Heather have got a WNBA professional tryout, combine, whatever you want to call it, coming up in conjunction with the Final Four on Saturday before the game start on that Sunday. And I'm going to take them up to that and try to maneuver the water, so to speak, helping them find an agent, maybe get drafted in the WNBA. April 14th, we'll find out if they get drafted. And they have a chance.
Yeah.
They're on the radar of WNBA teams. They're probably not on the digital Doppler radar. They're more on the little Atari radar. But they're on it. So I drop Alia and Ben and Matt off at school in the mornings, and Heather is student teaching over at Martin Elementary School, and she's finishing up her degree, and she would like to do that, coach, or kind of train. She's kind of in a limbo about what she wants to do with that, and she'll be good at whatever. All these kids will be good at whatever they do.
Yeah.
Jasmine is in the sport management department here helping, and she wants to coach, but they both want to play professional. So those guys are kind of have an idea what they want to do. Megan is in physical therapy program, and she is on the waiting list at a couple of schools to get in. And again, Megan would be phenomenal and she's working over in Union City right now doing her internship. And then Tabitha's working now with the Jackson Generals in their marketing department. So, these 4 kids are going to be unbelievably great at whatever they do. And, I hope that whatever they're doing, that if my path crosses theirs, that I'll get to hire them, or they'll be the ones working this, because they're going to do a great job at it.
Now, we'll see your team play again in November, but what happens between now and November?
Well, we've got to, a lot. Wow.
We don't have all that.
No, we don't.
But you always have said, Chris, we started preparing for this season the day after last season was over. You've told me that every year.
Well, here's the ironic thing. After that North Carolina game and the way that it happened, me personally, and literally, I'm going to be honest with you, I couldn't watch the next round games.
So you didn't even watch Michigan State and North Carolina?
I didn't watch it, and I just had a lot of trouble watching it because I thought this is why watch it? It's not, life's not fair. You know what? Well, I'm gonna sit home and pout, and no, it's not fair, and I'm gonna sit here and act like I've been wronged. But now the thing that, and I want everybody to understand this, and I talked to our players about this. We lost a game, and we're arguably feel like we got a bad deal to lose the game, and that's fine. Either way, if we did or if we didn't, okay. In the grand scheme of things, we lost a basketball game,
right?
And I have had to attend funerals where people are burying their childs. I've had to been to my father's funeral. There's famine and wars all across the world that people can't live safely and you can't worship the way you want to. And I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we're talking about a basketball game. And but that doesn't mean in our little world that it doesn't sting and hurt, and we can't make sense of it. And so for now, I can't make sense of it. But the funny thing was, is I figured kind of like our girls, that it would take them some time to get over and do whatever. Let me tell you something. Kids, and I'm coaching kids, they're just 22-year-old kids. I can say that now. When I was 22, I thought I was grown. But they're so resilient. And the next day, Katie Schubert and Shay Cross and Chelsea Roberts are playing pickup over in the rec. Oh. And I think that's their way of coping with the disappointment, so to speak. And the next day, another one's in the office, won't know if she can get started, and da-da-da-da-da-da. So we've had some of them that are getting started right now.
Wow.
Others that I won't let because their body needs to heal. Mm-hmm. Others that I won't let because their mind needs to take a break. Mm-hmm. And then some that can get going right now, if that's what they want to do. But for us, what goes on now is we finish up recruiting, and we may or may not sign anybody here late. And we're working real hard on next year's recruiting. We've got 2 more spots to work on for that. But the kids we only got a month. So after giving them a week or so off for some of them, you're really not going to crank back up with only 2 weeks to go before exams. So what we'll do in those 2 weeks is just kind of start pushing them towards what they're going to need to do this summer. Mm-hmm. Then they're gone in May. We'll have camps in June, and some of them will probably come back and work camps, and we'll work out with them some. And in July, hopefully, we'll have them back for summer school so the next team can get together and get to know each other and get to work out a little bit. And then they'll go back home in August. And then when they come back in late August, September, you're cranking it back up. And I'll be real anxious to see how this crew carries this legacy, mm-hmm. or takes the bar that has been set by Butler and Newsom and what they do with it. And just would be, I tell you what would be really neat, would be if this bunch can get back to the NCAA tournament and win a game.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you what, the most excited people in the world would be these seniors.
Right.
And because these guys are about this program and this team, and they would be more excited than anybody if they could get back and win a game. And maybe this bunch is going to do it. I told the girls in the locker room afterwards, I said, guys, and I'm the one that they're looking to for guidance. Oh, that's scary. But I said, guys, you know, I've always told you things happen for a reason. The only thing is we don't know what it is. But what I can promise you is, if you keep doing what you've been doing to make happen what just happened, if you'll keep doing that, the rewards that you're going to get are going to be a lot bigger than we would have thought this game would have meant to us. And I said, what really hurts is it's not going to be as a collective group of us all here together.
Right.
But it may be you with your family. It may be you and your job. It may be you next season. We don't know what it is. But what you don't want to do is let something like this break your spirit and have you go and start thinking, well, it needs to be done a different way or whatever. No, you know, whatever the reason are, the things happen the way they did, we don't know what they are. And all we can do is say, look, this is what we believe in. This is how we believe that things should work, and that's what we're going to go do it again, just like we've done it. And I hope, I don't know if any of them heard it, but after I said it, I thought, you know, that was pretty good. Where did that come from? Because I sure don't know right now at this point. But it's the best sense that I can make of it to those kids, and it's the best thing I can give them over time. Yeah. You know, who would have thought, honestly, Chris, that you and I would be sitting here talking 15 years ago, true, after we lost in a tournament game, and you think, well, the world's going to come to it. No, this leads to this, which leads to this. This had to happen, so this happened, so this happened. And if you will let go and let that stuff run its course, you're not always going to be thrilled, but usually you get rewarded a lot bigger. Now I'm patting you on the back, I would much rather be sitting here with you right now having this conversation in this setting than winning the game that gave me so much pain 15 years ago.
Yeah. And
you kind of have to look at things a certain way in order to, well, I guess one, that way you don't cry about it all day. But I mean, that you just and those, as you live longer and longer, you see that. You see those things that's the way you need to look at things, and you hope that you can pass that on to the little sphere of influence that you have, because you sure don't want to say, well, you know, this happened to us in this game, so you know what, I'm not going to work any hard at this, and now you let this slide. Next thing you know, your grades are sliding, and your relationships are no. You just keep doing what's right, and you keep doing it all the time. You will be rewarded. You may not be rewarded like you want to be rewarded, and when you want to be rewarded. That's the big thing, is that we always think we want to get
on our terms.
On our terms, we want to get rewarded and see, and it's not that way. And you have to have the faith and trust that I don't know what's fixing to happen in my life, but I'm going to keep doing the right things, and I will take whatever comes from that.
Okay, coach and philosopher, we'll leave on
Sorry about that.
Optimistic. That was good, Coach. Coach Kevin McMillan. Thanks for watching the Coach Kevin McMillan Show.
The Coach Kevin McMillan Show is brought to you by BSN Sports. Thank you for your support of UT Martin basketball.